In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening. I'm Charles Zachary King, and you are watching America in Black and White, the program that believes the most important conversations are the ones we keep almost having. Tonight, I want to start with a phrase, 5 words that sound simple until you sit with them long enough to feel the weight they carry. Your well being is not a luxury. Say it again. Your well-being is not a luxury. Because here is the truth that too many of us have inherited as though it were scripture. That is, our worth is measured in our output, that rest is earned and not owed, that healing is a reward for those who have already proven themselves, and that the line between I'm fine and I'm feeling and I'm falling apart is a line we are expected to walk without complaint, without help, and certainly without inconveniencing anyone else with the reality of our humanity. And for Black Americans, for Black workers, Black caregivers, Black leaders, Black mothers, Black men, this message has been delivered not just culturally, but structurally, economically, and historically in ways so deep we can feel like personality, historically in ways so deep that they can feel like personality. Tonight, we begin the conversation by naming it. You were never meant to run on empty. You were never meant to survive by suppressing yourself. Your well-being is not a luxury. It is a birthright. Let us talk about American workplaces for a moment, because that is where so many of us spend the majority of our waking lives. And yet, it is one of the places where human wholeness has historically been most aggressively sacrificed on the altar of productivity. The epidemic of burnout in this country is not a mental health crisis in isolation. It is a cultural crisis, a leadership crisis, and in many cases, a moral crisis. Organizations have mastered the language of people-centeredness while systematically building environments that deplete the very people they claim to value. Performance reviews exist. Psychological safety is rare. Employee assistance programs are listed in the benefits package. The stigma of actually using them is alive and well in the hallways. We have built elaborate systems for extracting human output while investing almost nothing in human restoration. And the question I want to pose tonight, a question I believe our guest has been answering organization by organization, community by community for over 2 decades is this. What would our workplaces look like if they were designed not just around what employees produce, but around who employees actually are? That question leads us to one of the most powerful ideas in tonight's conversation. The idea of bringing a therapist's lens to organizational problems. Imagine for a moment that every HR decision, every team conflict, every leadership breakdown, every culture survey with the same tired low scores year after year. Imagine all of it being approached not with a consultant spreadsheet first, but with the therapist's fundamental questions first. What is actually happening here? What is being said between the lines? What are people afraid to name? And what does this pattern reveal about the values that are really operating in this room, whether or not they are printed on the wall? That approach, that radical act of organizational empathy and honest diagnoses is the foundation of our guest's work. And I submit to you tonight that it is not just different from traditional consulting. It is more honest, it is more courageous, and it is ultimately more effective because you cannot fix what you will not see, and you cannot heal what you refuse to name. The tradition of the servant leader who brings their whole self to their professional work is not new in Black America. It lives in the legacy of educators who taught barefoot children in churches because the schoolhouse doors was closed to them. It lives in the social workers and physicians who built community clinics when hospitals refused to admit Black patients. It lives in the pastors who were also organizers, the lawyers who were also freedom fighters, and the mothers who were also everything. Tonight's guest stands in that tradition, a man who refuses to separate the healer from the helper, the clinician from the community servant, the professional from the person who grew up understanding at a cellular level that Black people's wellness is not a niche concern. It is a matter of survival, dignity, and justice. I am honored and genuinely excited to welcome to America in Black and White tonight a man who is all of these things at once: a licensed mental health therapist, an organizational wellness consultant, the CEO and founder of Lewis Family Consulting LLC, a published author, a public speaker, a trainer, a mentor, a coach, and a servant whose hashtag has become a declaration of liberation. That hashtag is "Your well-being is not a luxury." His book, Championing Wellness and Modeling Self-Care for Your Team, Holistic Leadership Workbook, is in the hands of leaders who are ready to stop managing people and start actually caring for them. His contribution to the award-winning anthology, The Weight of Success, anchors his voice in the literary tradition of men who write because the world needs to hear what they know. He has brought his expertise to Boeing and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. He has sat with public health professionals, tribal communities, probate court staff, and nonprofit teams. And on Thursday nights, he gathers with Black men in a virtual space called Men Tell Wellness, because he knows that well-being is not actually a corporate concern, it is a human one, and it begins in community. His name is Lamar E. Lewis, and this conversation tonight, part therapy session, part leadership masterclass, entirely human, is one I believe we will change something in every person watching. So let's get into it, and let's welcome Mr. Lamar. Oh Lord, there we go.
All good, brother.
Mr. Lamar Lewis, let's welcome you to the show. I'm sorry about that. How are
Brother,
you, sir?
man, hey man, I'm good. That intro, man, I don't know who you talking about, brother. That was you did your homework. You went there. So I'm humbled to be around such a thorough brother. I appreciate you for sure. Thank you for having me.
Well, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get into the show?
Nah, man, let's get to it. You know, I told some folks, you got some folks. Hopefully, the folks who listen to get something from it, man. I'm just excited to be here, man. On a Friday evening, folks checking in. I'm just excited, man. I'm just excited. You know.
Well, yeah, I want to thank all of our people that's out there in the audience that's watching, especially those that are here each and every day. And I want to thank you as well. And as we get into it, I'll tell you, as I was telling you before when we first got started, what's going to happen here now is I like to start out where I want to go through and give the audience the opportunity to learn a little bit more about you before we get into these great accomplishments of yours.
Sure.
So I call this your roots, your life story, and the making of Lamar E. Lewis.
Oh man.
When you think about the man you are today, the therapist, the consultant, the mentor, the author, and you trace it all the way back to the beginning, who is the first person you see? What did your mother give you that no degree, no certification, no professional success could have ever given you on its own?
Wow, that's a fantastic question. The thing I would say that my mother gave me is a sense of more. And what I mean by that is being constantly reminded that if you put in the work, you work on yourself, you strive, you deal with the adversities of life as best you can, then there's something better on the other side. And I think without that lesson of faith being instilled in me, I wouldn't be where I'm at. There's just no way I would be. So I'm grateful for that opportunity to be able to have a mother who would let me fail, make mistakes, and still be there for me. And I think that's something that, you know, many of us don't get, unfortunately. I've seen in my personal professional experience. It wasn't always easy, you know what I'm saying? But that lesson of just, you know, keep going, things will work themselves out if you just keep striving, I think is probably the biggest takeaway from like the first life lesson, the foundational life lesson.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, and just thinking about, you know, your mother being that pillar and being that strong support system, how does that support system that you had then compared to now has made a difference in your life and your career?
I would say, you know, honestly, the biggest difference is I can choose my support, right? I can choose who I let in, who honors my experience. I can model for other people, you know, consistency and showing up because I've seen that. You know what I'm saying? I've seen a person give of themselves selflessly over and over and over again. And sometimes it didn't work out. You know, sometimes it was painful. Sometimes it was, you know, whatever. But that don't mean you stop showing up. You may have to adjust how you show up, right? But you don't stop showing up. And I think that for me, that is how support has shifted. Now I can really see and pour back into those who pour back into me, and not just pour into people that don't pour back, you know. So you can be consistent, you can show up, but you got to show up for the people who show up for you. So that's the.
So before you had the clinical language of mental health, before psychiatric rehabilitation or organizational wellness, were in your, well, before these were in your vocabulary, what did you understand about people's pain from watching the world around you growing up? And when did you first realize what you were, someone who could not turn away from what others were carrying?
Well, you asking some deep questions today. I wasn't ready for all this, brother. I should have, you know, got myself together. You going to the you going to the roots for real. But no, man, I guess a great way to answer that for me is I tell stories. So that's a big part of who I am, and what how I connect with other humans. And I would say many years ago, I was in a gifted program in elementary school, and we would go on field trips. I can't remember where the field trip was, but I do remember the reason why you like field trips. At least when we was growing up, we would always stop at McDonald's to eat. And we went to McDonald's, and our bus driver, and I'm not saying this to be mean, I'm saying it to give a visual of kind of his demeanor and physical appearance. If you ever remember when the second Batman, when Danny DeVito played the Penguin, he kind of I'm not trying to be funny, but that's just kind of how he looked. He was a stout guy, but he kind of had that penguin. It had the hair and that's what I'm saying that because that's what kids were calling him. Because I was around that time that movie came out, and then and it wasn't a whole bunch of kids who went because the gifted program was small, but he could. I'm sure he could hear kids. They say all kind of mean stuff. And so after he took us where we had to go for our field trip, we went to the McDonald's, and the kids are sitting with each other, and the teacher is sitting with some of the other kids, or another teacher or some of the other kids or whatever, and the bus driver was sitting by himself. And I remember getting up from where I was sitting with my friends, and I went and sat with him, and we just I just talked to him and connected with him, and and that's the first time I can honestly remember this superpower of empathy that I where I can see the humanity in another person that somebody might overlook. And I think when I grew up in the environments I grew up in, that's not always honored, especially when you're young. You got to be tough. You got to project this veil of masculinity, and walking around, you know what I mean, and because otherwise you're a target, you're a threat. You don't want to be soft. You don't want to be, what I'm saying, other words that I won't say in this setting, but you don't want to be any of that. Right. So I bring that up because for a long time I buried that, and it took me a lot of my own personal work to even get to a place where I can be aware of what's happening with me and how these experiences impact me today. So yeah, I would say that was like the first time I could really pinpoint that there's something different about me, and it impressed the teacher. And the kids like, why'd you go over there to talk to him? I'm like, he needs somebody to talk to, and that is, when you kind of think back on these moments in life that shape you, that was one of those moments that, as I can look back and make the connection, really highlights how I move in the world today.
Well, you got some support here that's in the chat here. Let me show a few of these comments here that just popped in. I'll put it on the screen for you. There's one right there.
Oh yeah, that's my godmom.
And here is another one here.
Oh yeah, that's my Doc JL. I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
And here is another one for you.
Best friend right there, my man. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
So, Wittenberg University in Springfield, Ohio, a predominantly white institution, a long way from what many Black students would call home. What was it like being a Black man at Wittenberg, and how did that experience shape your understanding of what it means to navigate spaces that were not built with you in mind?
You just reminded me there's somebody I forgot to send this link to. One of my admissions counselor at Wittenberg University was a Black brother. His name's Shakir, Dr. Shakir Abdullah. And he was one of the Black faces that I saw, and the Black male face in that space. So I say that to say we were like 6% of the population of Wittenberg. And even though I grew up in a mixed kind of environment, the school I went to was still predominantly Black. And I went to a HBCU my freshman year, Kentucky State University, came back home. I went to a community college, a Sinclair Community College, but I was the president of the the African American Culture Club. So I was around blackness is my point. I took, black classes and all that kind of stuff. So Wittenberg, even though I had been familiar with spaces like that my whole life, up until that point, I'd never been day to day consistently in spaces with being such a minority.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, it was a culture shock. Like, it's not like, a bigger school where, 6% of, 60,000, that's, still a decent number. You're not completely isolated, but 6% of 2,100 or 2,000 is a different kind of experience.
Yes.
And so for me, I would say it's like a multiphasal kind of thing. I went in there very confrontational. My friends used to say I was like Dap from School Days.
Mm-hmm.
When people used to call me when I was younger, they would say that looks like Lawrence Fishburne. So they used to call me Dap when I would walk. Because that's how I was. I was in every protest. I was, always be doing all of that kind of stuff, rabble rousing or whatever. Been like that. So I came in not open to these new experiences, but over time, I really learned that humans experience like shared things, right? Like people really, we all feel, we all hurt, we all go through stuff. And sometimes when you have your own pain, you don't really see how other people are experiencing pain, right? So, or if you dismiss another person's experience, you might overlook the good that person may do for you. So that was one of the times where, and one of my, I use her mentor a lot because I got a lot of them. So I've mentioned them by name as we have this conversation. But one of my mentors, we're still close to this day, Dr. Keith Doubt, was a white sociologist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he taught an African American social thought class. So I went in, and I also want to shout out my other mentor, Dr. Boyka Tway. I've been trained and learned things from a very Black perspective. So I'm coming in ready to refute everything he's saying. I'm already ready. I done read all the books. I done studied. I'm ready. I got all the counterpoints. But that's not how he approached it. He didn't approach it like, I know more than you. It really was an exchange of information, an exchange of ideas. And it really taught me that like teaching isn't just teaching, it's learning too.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm teaching this class that I might not look like an expert in, you all live this experience. So your expertise is just as valid. He respected that. He honored that. And that really taught me, and it really just humbled me. Like, you don't have all the answers. If this dude who has, the PhD and he's been teaching you all these different things, if he doesn't have all the answers and he's the paid professional, what far be it from me, right? And so like, that experience really just opened my eyes and my mind to what's possible. Not closing myself off from anybody, but also deepened what I believe in, which is community and helping my community, and recognizing that I have a unique opportunity to bring resources from different sectors to empower people who look like me, and be a conduit and be that medium in between, so that I'm able to facilitate change. And I think that recognizing that I don't have to do it all by myself. As a Black person at a campus like that, we had to band together. There were times where, some of my people at school, one of my homeboys, we would be up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning finishing papers. But if I was by myself, I wouldn't have done it. You see what I'm saying? We used to get food stamps and get each other food. Like, we was cooking for, like, we just, made sure everybody was good who was a part of this really close-knit, tight. So it didn't feel as isolating because we knew we needed each other. And so we really became family in those, 4 or 5 years or whatever you're on campus. We really became tight because not only did we have to deal with the environment, that wasn't always accommodating. Like my professor, I appreciate him because there was other folks who, weren't like that. But the internal struggles and the internal stuff we dealt with, there were people like folks on campus who didn't rock with us at all. And they just kind of kept their distance. And then things would happen on campus of a racial component, and then they want to band in, like all these different dynamics and more you're dealing with. And it just helps if you got people who are all striving and going for the same direction. So like my experience, and lastly, it's so much with that experience. I ain't thought about it since you asked. but we're near so many other college campuses. Like we're down the street from Wright State University, which is a big campus. We're not too far from Ohio State. We're not too far from University of Dayton, University of Cincinnati. These bigger campuses, but we're also down the street from Antioch College, which is in Yellow Springs, where Dave Chappelle is at. Which is a very progressive campus. We're down the street from Central State and Wilberforce University. 2 HBCUs are like a 20-30 minute ride. So if you open yourself up, move around, you can still get like the expansive college experience. And that was something that I learned, again, speaking to my mentor, Dr. Tway, to build bridges, to build connections, to unify with people who look like you, no matter where they're at. And that training and teaching that I got from him helped me to build bridges across different campuses and stuff like that. So, I mean, it wasn't an easy experience, but it was a formative experience and one that I definitely needed, because without it, I know I wouldn't be where I'm at now.
Oh, well, I got some comments here for you here in this chat that I'd definitely love for you to answer. So let me say this before I put this first one on here. In just listening to you, and what I'm getting a sense of is that, when you're at a PWI and when you got the ratio of what you're mentioning, where you're being 6% of, let's just say, 2,100 students, that has got to more than just look like culture shock. That has got to put you on pins and needles, because it would seem like, excuse my French, I don't mean this to be crazy, but that's kind of like, well, what the hell's happening here? I mean, let me tell you. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you, because now I'm gonna set the stage here before I get to this comment, because this comment is really important.
Go for it.
But I'm gonna set the stage for you. I'm born and raised in Mobile, Alabama. Okay, now
my people from Mobile, so yeah, I'm with you.
Being there, it's like it's not so far off, but culturally, it's kind of like this thing where it makes hair stand up on the back of your neck when you're in particular parts of the city, And so, in just thinking about you being a young man at a PWI that's got that kind of ratio, that has got to, I don't know, just kind of like put different thoughts in your mind and kind of like be distractions at the same time. And I think that when it comes down to it, I think that's one of those things that, have a lot of people to say, that I don't know if I want to go to a place that's like that, because culturally there might not, with the experience that I'm looking for, I'm not going to get that. I'm probably not going to get the learned experience that I want as well. So here's one of the comments. Let me put this on the screen for you. This is from Dr. Ronnie Hector. He says, as Black people, we had to internalize our trauma, and it has been detrimental to our growth and development as a people. What are your thoughts on historic trauma?
Word. That's a great question, Doc. And let me say, I don't know if you heard me. I didn't mean to interrupt you, brother. I was just saying my people from Mobile. So, that great migration. Well, you know what? Watch me loop this. This is the gift of this ADHD brain I got. Watch me loop this into you. What we talking about right now. No, for real. Pete, my granddad was born actually tomorrow, 1943. So he'll be 83 tomorrow. And I didn't know this at the time. When I came into the world, I knew he was from Detroit. We would go to Detroit every year. As I studied our history, he's from near Mobile, Alabama. You probably drive. I don't even know where it's at, but I know Andy Mania ain't that big. But I know it's near Mobile because a lot of our family moved to Mobile from Andy Mania. So I say that because many, I might have been 13, 14 years old. He took me and my brother down to Mobile to meet that part of our family. We had never met him before. And I didn't know, when you talk to people, you start studying history, you learn that there was a reason why my great grandmother, and my great grandfather moved from there up to Detroit, and why so many of us are in the Midwest and out west and other parts of the country when we were primarily for a period in time stuck in the South, right? And I'm answering this brother's question. Just roll with me. I say that to say things that my grandfather experienced, I still sit with today. That is the impact. Again, he'll be 43 tomorrow. I mean, 83. I'm sorry, 83 tomorrow. He's born in 43. I just turned 27 a couple months ago. I'm joking, y'all. It's a joke. I didn't turn 27. I was like, you were serious. You was with me. I was like, is he gonna break it? Crack a smack. But no, I'm 44. I came up in the 80s. Right? 80s and mid 90s. The remnants of what my grandfather went through the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s into the 80s. I live with, right? My mom and my aunt, and that's not to now me. And then what I have to do is try to resolve all that historical stuff. I ain't to get to the negative. I'm just talking about let's just talk about migrating from where you are familiar to where you're coming. That is still could be a traumatic experience, especially depending on the circumstances around why you leave somewhere. That is an example of some historical trauma, right? Intergenerational. Our bodies keep score, right, of a trauma that is unresolved. Right. And let me make it very plain. If my grandfather grew up in extreme poverty, there are certain things you learn as a person who doesn't have a lot that will go with you how much money you get. Exactly. All right. That gets passed down to my mom. Okay. Now my mom passes that down to me. Behavior. Just the behavior, right? Maybe it's a good example is not buying new shoes all the time, right? Or keeping a pair of your old shoes, you hold on to them. Why? Because if I grew up in extreme poverty, I may not get another pair of new shoes for a long time. So I got to take care of these shoes. I got to scrub. I got to right? Now, even if I'm in a financial position to purchase more shoes, if I want to, there's something in me that says, nah, you might not have no money tomorrow. You might want to hold on to that. That's passed down, right? And I use my grandfather, my mom, myself, because we've all achieved some level of, financial stability, at least, right? We all went to school. We all, worked decent jobs. We all things like that. So then there's no real logical reason to still be holding on to this pair of shoes, but I'm still holding on to it. You know what I'm saying? That is an example, and it might be like a simple example, but it's one I'm sure as I'm saying it, other people would think about other examples of stuff that they learned way back when that don't really make sense anymore, but you still do it. It's just something that's passed down. How does that impact us as people? Trauma distorts how you see the world moving forward after something happens. Well, if I persistently see the world as not enough, there's not enough for me, and I pass that down to somebody, then I've approached the world like there's not enough for me. But what does that do? I don't think I got options. I'm not going to try other ways. I'm not going to stretch myself and do other things because what's the point? There's nothing else there. Speaking of Wittenberg, circling back to the Wittenberg situation, if I didn't see my brother Shakir the first day I went in, I wouldn't have known there were black guys who were in higher education, right, in these spaces. I wouldn't have known that. Right. I wouldn't have known you can do okay, you can thrive in these spaces. So it opened my mind. Going to school exposed me to stuff. Well, if I've never been told education is important, if I've never been told hey man, you can actually do some other stuff with your life, and been shown that constricts what I see moving forward. That's what trauma does. So I just want to make real world examples of how this trauma has impacted our people, because if you have a generation of people whose vision is constricted, they're not going to do more. They're not going to strive for more. They're not going to see obstacles as opportunities. They're going to see them as barriers. And some people don't push past barriers. I'm hard headed. My mom will tell you that. I've been hard headed my whole life. So I just don't learn sometimes, and that's just me. But that's helped me a lot. You know what I'm saying? I'm persistent. I'm gonna figure it out. This is how I am. But not everybody has got that. And then for those of us who are like that, how much more pressure you put on yourself by trying to carry other people who don't see what you see. So there's like a twofold thing, and then you're looking for help outside, not recognizing that, hey, I have what it takes to get where I need to go. You know what I mean? So the impact of historical trauma, we ain't even talking about just the behavior, the maladaptive coping and all that kind. We ain't even getting into all of that. It's such a broader topic. Dr. Joy DeGraw wrote a book about the post-traumatic slave syndrome. And that is a theory that these symptoms, I mean, the impact of trauma that happened to our ancestors all those years ago is still being passed down to this day. And again, just off those few examples I gave, I'm willing to bet people can make those connections. Like, oh, you know what? I can see how those two things connect. I can see why, because my grandma did this, why my mama did that, and this is why I'm doing this. Like, it's yeah.
So let me go through. Let me put these on the screen here for you. I'm sure that there's a lot of supports here, so we can move on to the next part. This one is from what was it? I'm not sure how to pronounce all that, but
Shekinah Greater Love Tabernacle. That's my aunt.
Okay.
That is our church, Shekinah Greater Love Tabernacle. So that is the handle. Sundays at 10:30, we're live there as well. And that's me just, testing the chat. Okay. I always do that.
And the part of Mobile that you were talking about your family was in, this person.
That's my big cousin. Yes. Yep. Wilcox, that's my big cousin. Yep. He's my granddad's sister, my Aunt Ruby, who since passed away. God bless her. That's her. That's my big cousin. So he know all that stuff. The ones in Detroit. So he's part of my Detroit side of my family.
Some hashtags, I guess, of knowing at, and we also have this one right here that's saying to you, preach.
Oh yeah.
So
all right, fantastic.
Let's move over to your business, Lewis Family Consulting LLC, and additional consulting work that you do.
All right.
Take us to 2014, the founding of Lewis Family Consulting LLC. What was happening in your life and in the organizations around you that made you say, this gap exists, this needs a real, and I am the person to fill it, and why family? What is the intention behind the word in your company's name?
Wow. Well, you ask, boy, I tell you, boy, you cold, man. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. Your nickname is Charles Cold King. Well, you cold with the questions. You cold with it. Man, 2014, be honest with you, bro. I was working at a place that I will not name that was very dysfunctional. And to be fair, I got to go a little bit further back. I got asked to do a job that I was completely not qualified for. I mean, completely. I can say that now, because we got some distance, but I was not qualified for it. However, they were paying me way more than I was making, and I needed that bread. And that's been a theme throughout this story. So I took the job, and like I said before, I'm hard-headed, and that translates to me figuring it out. So learned a lot of stuff from the mistakes of this place, and the place ended up closing a couple years after I started working there. A guy I worked with at that place, they were starting a program similar at a place he was doing some stuff with. He knew that I knew what I was talking about. So he brought me on. I helped this place develop their program, and I started my name started getting around as a person who could, solve some of these problems for organizations. It was primarily in behavioral health at the time. And so part of what I did was did some training on, like how to be compliant. And I learned that, through the previous job I had, that wasn't that was a very dysfunctional workplace, but we had to do like new hire training, had to train the staff. So I started developing this skill set because nobody else would do it. So anyway, and let me pause for a second. Lewis Family Consulting wasn't the name in 2014. From 2014 to 2021, when I officially, or 2019, whatever, when I officially did it, I was just doing side jobs. A colleague of mine knew that I was good at like cleaning up. One of my other colleagues, Mr. Mia Drumgo, they would call us like, "Hey, we dealing with this. Can y'all come in and help us?" And that was like our side money. So we did that a lot. So my name was getting out in these circles around the audit time and these really critical moments where people would be like, "We need some help." Oh, call Lamar. So one place I did some stuff with the lady, most people, they was cut you a check, and this is before Cash App and Zelle and all that. They would just give you a check, and we would figure it out or whatever. This is before I really understood having a business account and all that kind of stuff. I just was trying to hustle up some money. The lady who owned the company said, "Hey, I don't pay people directly. Like, you gotta get an EIN, and I gotta pay you to your business." I'm like, okay, like I this all new. I've never, this new. This might be 2019. I didn't know what was going on. And so, she's like, "Well, go to the IRS website and put the information, blah blah." So I'm on the IRS website, and if anybody's been on the IRS website, you don't know what's going on. So they asked me for a name, but I'm like, a name? Lewis Family Consulting. I didn't really have a method behind it besides the fact I'm consulting to make money for my family. That was the only.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, people always like, "Oh, because you do family counseling." Oh, initially that's not where it started. That's what it's transitioned into.
Right.
But at the time, it was like I'm consulting, making this extra money for my family. I didn't view this as the thing, right? So I kept doing that on the side. 2021, I'm not going to get in too much into the details. My previous employer, we just weren't rocking anymore, so I ended up stepping away. And I'm like trying to think of a name, trying to think all this stuff, and I'm watching these different YouTube videos and all this, and they're like, "Well, you got to get your LLC and all this other stuff." I'm talking to people who are in the business. You got to get your LLC, and I'm like, "Okay, with the LLC, you get your EIN." I'm like, I already got an EIN, so I just need the LLC. So I just merged it like that, and that's been how it started. Now, since then, it's taken on its own identity because I've actually put intention into it. So now, to your point, if you can kind of see part of the logo, family is the roots, right? People, and even though I don't believe that workplaces need to be family, because there's things you let your family do that you don't let other people do because they're your family, right? And some of the people who are listening can attest to that, But I do want to bring that level of intention and closeness and safeness that you feel like you need when you're with your family, right? When you're connected to people. And that starts at the root and it grows out. And so for me, family is the best representation of that. If you got strong roots, you got a strong foundation, you can grow as high as you need to grow. And that's what family, from a relational standpoint, means to me. Like my roots are strong, so I can go to the moon. I don't care how high I can go because I got strong roots. I got a strong foundation, and that's what I want to convey to the organizations that I partner with, and how I show that family is our testing ground a lot of times for how we show up in the workplace. What people tend to minimize, and you kind of referenced it earlier in your fantastic introduction, like things that happen at home impact how we show up at work and vice versa. So we have to acknowledge the fact there is a family element to it. And every time we dance around, every time we act like it's not a thing, I don't mean just saying, "Oh, this is a family-like atmosphere." I mean, what makes family family? What makes you connected to people? What makes people want to keep showing up for you? What makes people want to be connected? and do good things and do good work. That's to me what that parallel is. So that's what Lewis Family Consulting has grown into, is providing opportunities for people in these workplaces to have pockets of safety, pockets of openness, pockets of vulnerability, where they can be protected. You know, I use my big cousin on here. You know, when you the little cousin, big cousin always pick on you. He been picking on me since I was a little kid. Hey, I love him. That's my big. Listen. But here's my point, Charles, and you gonna know what I'm saying. Let somebody pick on me, they wouldn't now. But let somebody pick on me and my cousins.
Exactly.
You think they ain't about to get
okay?
Yeah, we going. That's family. You see what I'm saying? You can say whatever you want to say. Me and my brother, we can get into it. But you say something to my brother, now you got two of us to deal with. That's how we roll. That to me, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I that shows up, right? That level of loyalty and protectiveness and ability to share, like all those kind of things are things that we need to thrive. And for me, I'm not going to minimize that. And that's why that the name is so wild. And when I initially did it, it was like very personal. And dare I say, very existentially driven. As the business has grown and as I have grown, it's for everybody. As long as you with me, I always say we're gonna be kinfolk at the end of this conversation. Exactly. You're gonna feel like you know me, I'm gonna feel like I know you, and that's just honoring the gift that I take no credit for, my ancestors. But that's what you get when you with me. So, you know, that's what that means, brother.
One of your relatives just put in the comments that your grandfather is listening.
Oh, what's up, baby?
So a therapist's lens to organizational problems. Break that down for us, and what does that actually look like in practice on a day? On day one, when you walk into an organization, what are you listening for, watching for, and noticing that a traditional management consultant might miss entirely?
Man. You trying to give everybody the sauce for free. Y'all got to pay for that. No, I'm just playing. I'm joking. I mean, I'm not joking, but I am joking. But no, in all seriousness, man, I came up with that because, you know, when you kind of do things, I'm sure when you came up with the title for this podcast, there was some intention behind it, right? But when you do things, when you're not, when you kind of just thrown into a situation, you know, sometimes you kind of go and then you got to go back and kind of figure out what that looks like. And so I would go to these different conferences and I would have these different conversations. People would always ask, well, what do you do? What's this mean? Help me understand. What do you do? And I never had like a clean elevator pitch. I just would be like, yeah, so I kind of like go in and like talk to people and help them. And, you know, we just do, you know, and you can see people kind of like, oh, okay. Like there would be confusion there. But what I learned over the course of time is that my unfair advantage or my unique selling point is that I'm a therapist. Like, I work with people, and I've worked with people who have experienced some of the most difficult things in life, right? And help guide them. They do the work, obviously, but help guide them on a path towards healing or recovery or restoration. And for me, that's the same thing I'm doing with these organizations. Like, there's a problem, or else I wouldn't be here. There's a reason why you're asking, and you're asking for these very human things: how to communicate, how to resolve conflict, how to build a team, how to build safety, how to provide good customer service, how to have compassion and empathy. Like, these are things that we have. This is a part of the human condition. And just because the sectors are different or the language is different, it's still human stuff. So I could come in and I'm very qualified to give you the frameworks and all of the studies and theories and all of the data. We could do all of that. But at the end of the day, if the people don't want to move because they don't feel safe, that stuff don't matter. You can put every process in place, every KPI, you can put everything in place. If people aren't connected, if people aren't bought into the mission or bought into, you know, what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go, you wasting energy. You just checking boxes. And for me, that's the difference, because I can also pull from real human experiences and make the connection to how this impacts the work. I've been in various levels in my lane, but the lane still translate. And I think that that's the unique perspective that I have. So when I say I take a therapist lens to organizational problems, I'm also not just looking at outcomes. And I mean outcomes like tangible stuff. Okay, we provided 100 trainings and we did this, we did that, so everybody should be good. That's part of it, right? And I'm not saying that's not important. You have to have that, and you get that with me and with the company. And I also know as a therapist, change don't happen overnight. It's a thing you got to be intentional and keep. I'm gonna use that word a lot today. You got to keep plugging away at. You know, you can't just do a one-off and be like, oh, okay, well, that's it. Everything's better. No. Trust me. I've been doing this work a long time, and this is what happens a lot of time, right? You think everything's cool. Oh yeah, I don't need to see Lamar no more. I don't need to do. And then some life happens, and everything progress you made is undone. If you're not consistent, you're not doing your own work. So it's really coming up alongside them, and that's what the other part of the tagline is: co-creating happy, healthy, and safe workspaces. The co-creation part is important. I'm not coming in to fix all your problems. That ain't my job. We got to fix them together. You know what I'm saying? And then when I'm not here, because I'm not the employee, again, I'm coming from the outside. How y'all going to sustain this work and keep it going? But being happy, healthy, and safe, I want that for all humans. I want everybody to win. That's what I got that because I would say that to my clients. I just want you happy, healthy, and safe. And I'm like, well, that's what I want for the workplaces too.
Yes.
I want to work in a happy, healthy, safe spot. Like, not just physically safe too, emotionally, spiritually. Like, I want my humanity to be honored when I show up. I'm not saying turn every workspace into, whatever, but I am saying that when people feel happy, healthy, and safe in the workplace, everything goes up. Innovation goes up. You know what I'm saying? Achieving those outcomes goes up. Productivity goes up. Team morale goes up. All these things go up when you treat people like you want them to be happy, healthy, and safe. You treat them like humans. And I think that, to your points you said earlier, we've conditioned ourselves, back to even the other brother's question about historical trauma, we've conditioned ourselves as Black folk, humans who in the workforce, humans in general, to be like, I don't need that. I just need my paycheck. For real? Like, I'm cool. Like, I don't need, I'm cool. Like, I don't need this. I need a little more than that. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with ourselves, we all like so many people got cases of the Mondays.
Yes.
Sunday, you're anxious. You can't go to sleep. Oh my God, what mess am I gonna deal with today? You're off the clock and still bringing work home. Like, all these things impact the actual work you do if you don't want to be where you are. And not just because you want to make more money and stuff like that. That's one thing. But if you do work that you value, you're willing to, sacrifice a couple of things because you actually like what you do. You actually like your work.
Exactly.
And making that. So I'm saying all that to say, as I come into these workplaces, that's my approach. Not just what's wrong, what's right, and how can we build on what you have instead of tearing down everything that's wrong. Like, we know what's wrong. What can we do? Some people come in and it's all they do is assess what's wrong. How can we take what's wrong and build on? Take what you're doing right and build on that to address what's wrong. And I think that, that lens and going through, speaking of being a psychiatric rehabilitation practitioner, like going through the process of recovery with people and walking alongside people and seeing people, myself included, like really be in one place, dark, low, worst positions they could be in, but with intention, with a clear plan, with a clear direction, with adaptation of stuff and honoring what's happening in your life and approaching you like a human and really figure out what you want out of life. Not just what I want for you, but what do you want? How can we figure it out? Like, all those little things and more, I've seen people's lives change more times than I care to count. I'm not taking credit for it. I'm just saying I've seen it. And when you see that in a person who nobody would expect to see it from, you know that it can translate. You know that I can take this and I can do, if I could do this with this person where they was, then I definitely can take this to this team and we can figure it out. That's the approach. And as you can tell, I'm passionate about what I'm talking about. Like, I believe it because I've seen it. And I believe people feel when you actually care. Like I actually care about the work I do. I'm not just phoning it in. I'm not just here to get a check and be out. Like I actually don't want that. I want to be here in some capacity long term so that I can help you all figure it out and guide the change. That's my role. But also as a therapist, I know you work to get fired. If I got to see you the same time every week and you got the same problems, I'm not doing. There's something I'm not doing. Maybe I ain't the one to help you. And I got to be honest with that. So it's same with some of these organizations. Like sometimes you want to keep the work going, but you also know, you work to get fired in the sense like if I do good work in this, what I'm saying, for this particular project, that means I did what I'm supposed to do, and this can last beyond me. That's something I learned through my training and growing up, like trying to build institutions, trying to build things that last. If that's my intention going into it, I'm not just giving you a fly-by-night solution. I'm giving you a solution that works for you, and we coming up with this together. And even if I'm not here, you can keep doing this work. That's what it's about.
There's a comment here. I'm gonna put this on the screen for you. Kristen says that's a great story, Lamar. That was like 2 questions ago. And
remember the story I told.
And here's I guess for as you was just speaking before, Matt says yes, you are
passionate about it. Yep, I sure am.
And this one is Lamar is Chris. What do you do if the group you're working with just isn't ready for improvement, even if they don't know it?
What do you do if the group you are working with
is not ready,
just isn't ready for improvement, even if they don't know it? Okay, all right, Chris. Man, that's a great question, Chris. So I think for me, and Chris is one of my one of my other brothers. He's like a little brother to me. So I know what he's talking about. I know what he's dealing with. I'm going to just give you the answer best I can, brother. For me, what I've learned is that it's a twofold thing. First, I really focus on what I can control. And I spend time in the process of identifying what's in my control and what's not in my control. And that sounds super simple, but so many of us confuse what we actually got control over, what we got some influence over versus what we actually can do. Most of the time, the stuff we're up against, we don't have any control over. If we did, we probably would change something, right? So identifying what's in your control and what's not is a foundational piece, because then you can say, okay, let me step back and recalibrate. Then you ask yourself, okay, what's my problem to fix? If you're working, I'm gonna use a professional example. I work with some pretty large health departments. And this is gonna answer the second part of the question. And I know maybe HR is the part of the organization that brought me in to do, let's say, leadership training. Just make it easy. Because they got these issues within their leadership team that I might uniquely be able to help them with. But HR is a part of a larger entity. So while HR might get it, HR might say, yo, I seen this guy on this podcast, and man, I think I want to, work with him. I think he'll be really good here. That happens a lot. Okay. You might be bought in, but the people above you ain't bought in. People beside you ain't bought in. These other folks ain't bought in. This is just one part of a larger system. And sometimes not saying Chris, I'm just saying in general, some people forget that. Like, oh, you're going to come in and you're going to change everything. No, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Let me not even lie to you. I'm not going to sell you that dream. I can help you change some things, but for you to come in and change something in one setting or something like that, it's not going to happen. But to answer the question more succinctly, what I do suggest, and I mentioned this phrase earlier, developing these pockets of safety or these pockets of whatever it is you're looking for, change, right? Because, and I don't mean it in like a big brother kind of allyship kind of, okay, I don't mean like that. I mean champions of doing things the right way, of doing what's right. Because I'm sure whatever it is you're up against, there are other people who are experiencing the same thing. Sometimes in your program, like I'll use the example of the place I used to work at, we're part of a larger organization. But in my program, we did, as long as we adhered to whatever the policies and procedures were, we didn't veer too far from that. We did things a certain kind of way because we have a unique experience within this larger organism. And I can't approach it the same way, right? We can't do what this program do. We don't do the same thing. But here, this is the expectation. This is how we're going to treat each other. This is how we're going to resolve conflicts. This is how we're going to work through things. This is how we're going to build connections, how we're going to build a team, and having that be very clear for how this program is going to work. And again, as long as it adheres to the policies and procedures that you got wherever you're working at, as long as you're doing your job, most of the time people, don't really be tripping. With a larger conglomerate, smaller organizations are slightly different. So I say that to say, A, recognize what you control. B, then identifying what's your problem to fix. And C, go about fixing it. And that might be creating these pockets of functionality wherever you are. And then the last part of that, like you said, the question about if people are ready or they're not. That's something that in this line of work, I can sit with you and know very quickly what's going on. I ask certain questions, I get certain answers. I know why you're there. We can make that connection. But I would be out of business, sir, if everybody who came to me was aware enough to know what was going on. All of us got I wouldn't be here. There'd be no need for me because you already know, right? So many of us, we move in our own form of delusion. We just think, because our perspective is the right one because it's our perspective a lot of times. And it's not till somebody can say, hey, you ever thought about it this way? Or, hey, this impacts us this way. Oh, so sometimes you have to be the mirror. Sometimes you have to be the one to say, hey, y'all act like this. Y'all saying this is what y'all want, but this doesn't align with that. How can we get back in alignment? And those are hard conversations to have. And with the time we have, I don't want to belabor the point. But I really feel like a lot of times, if you could be that mirror in an empathic and a compassionate way. Now I know I'm talking about my brother Chris, that ain't that ain't his style. But you can give the information in a way that people can receive it. A lot of times it's easier to initiate change. Yeah, I could talk about that topic alone for the rest of the time, but for the sake of brevity, I'll stop. I hope that answered a little bit, but if you need to get a hold of me, you're more than welcome to.
So let me ask you this because, clearly, in just listening to the work that you do and with organizations as well as people, you're clearly ascending in your career. And you're clearly establishing not just a path, but a legacy. But to do a follow-up to that last comment and question by Chris, when you run across some individuals, and I know some people are worse off than others, when they really don't know what it is that they're seeking or how to ask the right question for the issues and problems that they have, how do you break down that process to get them to tell you in order for you to help them?
For sure. So I'm going to give you my personal method, and I always preface what I'm saying with how you naturally communicate will translate, right? So I'll use, and you didn't even know I was doing this, but this is part of naturally how I move, right? And how I've been trained to do things. So I can already tell when you first were on the camera, you was locked in, you was very up here, you was on the prompts, you was right. But over the course of our conversation, you relaxed a little bit. That's not by happenstance, right? Like I'm a like I said, I tell stories, I tell a lot of bad dad jokes, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a method to how I communicate to get people to break their guard down. Because I've seen over time, if I come in tense, if I come in anxious, if I come in worried, especially in some of the scenarios I've been in and crises I've had to help avert, that raises the level of resistance, that raises the level of anxiety, that raises the level of distance. and I'm trying to close that gap. So that's my style. Another thing is finding commonalities. So you might not be a jokester like me. That's fine. You know, most people ain't goofy like me. So it's okay. But like, can I find a common ground? So you mentioned, I'm gonna go back when you said you from Mobile, and I said, oh, my people from Mobile. That's a connection.
Yes, it is.
So now I got a frame of reference, so I can always go back to the connection. And I think that if you're not trying to seek connection or seek understanding in a conversation, it becomes adversarial. It's something I've learned. I'm sharing this all. Listen, I ain't charging nobody for this game. This is all free because my brother Charles got me on here on Friday evening. Hey, take this and run with it, please. Right? Well, we here. It's not me versus you. It's us against the problem.
Yes. Yes.
So if I approach the conversation like, hey, we're not adversaries. There's a bigger problem here between me and you. How do we find out the problem and fix that? And that's the approach. There are specific, things you can do, different ways to do that. One of them, which I'll offer, and this might be something for Chris and anybody else who's having this, is a trauma-informed communication technique called ask, offer, ask, right? Ask, offer, ask. And what does that mean? That means that when people have experienced trauma, one of the things they may be seeking, even if they don't know it, is safety. But one of the things that happens when you're dealing with traumatic experiences is that your safety, your sense of safety, your sense of how you view the world is disrupted. So if I'm not able to, if I don't feel safe and my sense of safety is disrupted, another thing we take away is a person's autonomy. If you think about some of the traumatic experiences, I don't need to name them all, whatever, but a person oftentimes doesn't feel in control of themselves and their body and what's happening to them in that moment of trauma. So when we go, what we do from a trauma-informed perspective is we want to give that back to them, give them back some autonomy, give them back a choice, give them back, the safety. So you ask first, let a person say whatever it is. Hey, I'm pissed off. Charles done called me all out my name, and he done said he gonna slap me after work, and that's why I'm using you. You ain't gonna do this. He gonna beat me up, and man, he crazy. All right, okay, cool. If he want to fight me, if he want to fight me, I'm gonna fight him back. All right, cool. That's what you want to do. Got it. Cool. This is the first. This is the ask. Can I offer you some feedback? Can I offer a suggestion? Can I tell you something? Maybe a little. Can we talk about maybe another way to do this? You asking for permission. Because maybe you didn't say any of that. I'm willing to bet you wouldn't say any of that. But maybe you said something that I received that way, which activated a trauma response in me. And now I'm seeing everything he's saying like he's trying to fight me. You might have said, hey, can you pass me the stapler? What you mean to stapler? You trying to? And imagine, so people who are listening have experienced this. You've been at work and somebody has had some exaggerated response to something that was very minor. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It's some internal stuff they got going on. Right? So back to my example. Ask, hey, can I give you some feedback? Charles might be like, I guess, man, whatever. You give the offer 3 different suggestions. Well, you could fight him, or you could take it to HR, you could talk to your manager, or you could just ignore it because it ain't that big of a deal. Which one sounds good to you? What did I do? I gave them choices. I didn't give them a directive. Because again, if a person is live with trauma, that autonomy, that choice is taken away. And think about if you're a parent or you got kids in certain stages in life, when you tell a kid and you're gonna do some kids will comply, but a lot of kids might buck back.
Yep.
But if I give you options that you can choose, then I ask, okay, which one of those sound good to you? Then they can decide. Well, man, I don't really want to fight Charles, man. I'm just having a bad day. And again, does this work 100% of the time? No. But if you have that in your toolbox, and not just at work, in life, then you begin to see, most of us are dealing with something. And if I give people a choice and I honor their ability to choose, I'm empowering them. And one of the things I hear from a lot of leaders is like, I feel like I'm You know, I got to hold hands all the time and all that kind of stuff. Well, if you empower somebody, you have them give you the solutions. These are some suggestions. What do you think? Right? Instead of always feeling like you have to give answers, which goes back to that part about well-being not being a luxury, and that's not feeling like we can rest. We feel like we got to have all the answers, and you don't. So if you give people a chance to give you their answers, then you get a chance to empower them to see what's possible.
Well,
That was all off top.
look,
That was top. That's top of the dome, bro. That was all top of the dome. That was
no, but that's good.
that was,
That's good. But you look, you got this chat on fire. I got this. It's actually 3 comments here. They're from the same person. Do you want them one at a time, or do you want to get all 3 and then you talk?
You don't matter. I'm with you. Whatever you want to do, brother. 3 is my favorite number, so it's all good. Whatever. I'm with you.
Well, let me put the first one here. And this is from Dynamic Body Works. DBW is the company. He says, educate them for mindset change.
Absolutely.
And he says, thank you, LL, for sharing community with community. Bravo.
Absolutely.
And the third one here is, change is a hard, slow process. Got to be wholly committed to substantive change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to assume, and I could be wrong, but just off the name and my public school education, I could put Dynamic Body Works together. I can assume you do something with the body, right? Something with, I'm just going to, right? I'm going to assume you do something with the body. So, if I'm accurate, as another person who understands how movement informs thinking, and Kristen, my good friend, who I hope is still listening until she gets some rest. That's the inside thing. She know what I'm talking about. She told me that phrase, and it really helps to drive this point home. That movement informs thinking, and movement in an intentional way and trying to see progress takes time. I used to sell gym memberships and train at Bally's many years ago when I first moved to Atlanta, and people would come in, and part of what we learned to do in sales is figure out what they want, right? So then when they get to the pain point, which is usually money, we can say, well, you said you wanted to blah, blah, blah. And people would say, I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to lose 100 pounds. I want to get the arm jiggle fixed. I want to get my 6-pack back, or whatever these things were. And they might be, my age now at that time. And I would always say, well, you didn't get out of shape. I'm sorry, let me pause. And they would put an irrational timetable on it. They might say, oh, I want to, drop 30 pounds in 2 weeks. It's like, you didn't gain the pounds in 2 weeks. So you're not going to lose it in 2 weeks. I mean, I ain't going to get into that. You can, but the ways you're going to do it ain't going to be healthy. So let me just leave that there. I'm sure that anybody works can correct me if I'm wrong. But my point is, it's a process. And change is a process if you're committed to it, right? Some people ain't committed to change.
Right.
Some people are committed to keeping things as they are. They're willing to dig their heels in. They're willing to resist change at every turn because it's not comfortable. Change isn't something you can easily accept a lot of times. And so, because change activates, much like trauma, parts in us that we, your identity, sense of safety, all kinds of things, especially when it's unexpected change. But if you prepare for it, back to the other comment the brother made, if you prepare for change, change is coming. You have a plan in place, and you're willing to adapt that plan based on what the change is, which is another part of what we do at Lewis Family Consulting. Then you can say, and not just dealing with the outcomes of change, but the human part of change, how change impacts us as humans, how many of us don't handle change well, again, especially unexpected change. I box, and one of the things I was always taught is not the punches you see coming that knock you out. It's the ones you don't see. That's how change is. If you get caught and you ain't paying attention, and you wake up like, what happened? We were just fighting, no. you asleep. You know what I mean? That's how change can happen to you. It can put you to sleep if you're not preparing for it. If you're not staying vigilant, you're not staying consistent with your training, with developing, with connecting, with getting support, like all these different things that we're talking about. I was making parallels. So I think that, he's very much spot on, and I'm glad. And we change through relationship. We change through community. You have to want to change internally, but the beauty of the therapeutic relationship is that you got somebody who's there to be with you along this, and you can practice some of this stuff and apply it. It's the same at the workplace. I'm coming in to help practice some of this stuff so we can apply it and improve the workplace culture. Um, and that's not something I take lightly. So I think that if I can model that intention, if I can model that consistency, if I can model that showing up, then they're able to see, okay, this is possible because somebody is doing it and they're showing us the way. They're not just telling us the way, they're showing us the way.
Well, I have Olivia, you're getting ahead of us, but I'm going to put this on the screen for you, Lamar.
Okay.
She's asking, hey, Lamar, this is, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
Carlton.
this is Carlton.
Oh, yeah. That's my guy.
Top
Yeah.
books to
He's on the book.
suggest for personal growth.
Oh man, outside of the one that I have published, that is a great question. You know what? The Robin Sharma's The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari is a good one. Chop Wood, Carry Water is a good one. The Greatest Salesman on Earth is a good one. I mean, I read a lot, so I'm just rattling off various, but those are ones. The art of thinking clearly. And my cousin John Marcus put me onto that one, and it's good because it helps you to identify different thought traps or cognitive distortions or whatever you want to call them, logical fallacies, whatever. These different thoughts that we have and ways of thinking that we have that impact us, in our work. Think Again by Adam Grant is a good one. I can keep going. It's so many. I will say they're like leadership specific books. Then there's books that are like good for like developing your self leadership. And so the ones I'm kind of rattling off are the ones I'm thinking of at this top of mind. Ryan Holiday has one. The Obstacle is the Way. And that's a great one for just helping you identify that difficult stuff that you're facing is the way through to see that personal growth and change. So for the sake of brevity, like I said, it's so many. Like I could mention, but those are off the top of my head some of the better ones. Oh, Think and Grow Rich, Black Choice by Dennis Kimbrough. That's one of my books that I have to go back and revisit every so often because it was just that pivotal. And how I viewed business and work and just how you stand on the shoulders of giants. And yeah, you might think the path hasn't been blazed before, but there's people in your history and your lineage who really, put the pain in for you to be where you at. And it's a good reminder of connecting the history to the present. So that's another good one. Yeah, man. Let me stop, man. I could do this all day. So many books, but that's like 8. So Carlton, pick one and roll with it.
Okay.
You probably already read them over here. We probably already read.
This is I'm interested in knowing what do you think about this? This guest says change is inevitable, misery is optional.
Absolutely. So that guest is you asked me that first question. This, the lesson that my mama left with me, well, that's her. So absolutely. And I think that because we don't really accept that reality, that change is a constant, it's inevitable, it's something. When I think about it, it's something that's coming. You're constantly in flux, and one of those things is almost like gravity, right? Or almost like the earth spinning. You don't feel it happening, but it's always happening, right? And that's how change is. And sometimes you only notice the change when the seasons change, right? When the time it gets darker earlier. Now you're starting to pay attention to changes seasonally, but we're always changing. How hot it was in June isn't the same heat. Well, it's close to it, but the exact same heat in August, it starts changing, right? And so how you choose to deal with change, your perspective on it, that's a big thing. Reframing how you see things. Whatever's in front of you is not changing. How you see it is. That's why I can go back and look at certain stories now because I have some distance on it and say, oh, what I saw then is not that anymore. And something that I want to share just from a mental health standpoint, I'm thinking about one of my good friends. His daughter was going through a difficult time. We was talking about it, and I was telling him, like, the thing we don't get when we young, and hopefully you got people in your life to remind you of this, is that it's not going to be this way forever. When we're in certain spaces, we think it's going to be like this forever. But no, even if it's bad now, objectively bad now, it may not be as bad even tomorrow. Like, you just gotta keep going and things will change. Will they change how we always want them to? Probably not. But it's not gonna be the same. It's not gonna be this bad forever. And I think that perspective, has really helped me. And I think that to that point, let me tell it to you the story. I got to give you the story, Charles. I'm gonna give y'all a good story. So I told you, so in June, I was out in Annapolis, Maryland, working with Advocate Support Services and a good friend of mine, Jim Crossan. And some of these same topics we were talking about. They want me to come in. They want to talk about, workplace culture and all that kind of stuff. And we did it. It was a great time. If you're on my LinkedIn, you scroll back, you'll see us there. And we went to go get some Maryland crab cakes. I never had Maryland crab cakes before from Maryland. Like, right off the water. You can tell it's a whole different taste. I don't even want crab cakes no more unless I get them from Maryland because it ain't
exactly. You're exactly right.
I'm spoiled. I don't want to go nowhere else, right?
Yes.
So so I say that because we were talking. He was telling me about a story about his grandson, and he said, his grandson lives out like Spokane, Washington, so it doesn't get as hot out there as it even does. Even in Maryland, don't get as hot as it does down here in Georgia and in Mobile, right? So, but he was talking to him, but his grandson came to visit him for like the summer, and they were out on this boardwalk, walking around, just enjoying it, and the grandson kept complaining, like, "Oh man, it's hot out here. Why it's so hot? Oh my God, it's so hot. Man, it's terrible. Why? So y'all do this all the time? It's so hot." He just complaining, and he told him, everybody's hot. Are you choosing to suffer? Is the question. And that's the question, right? It's hot for everybody. Are you choosing to suffer? Change comes for everybody. Bad times come for everybody. Good times come for everybody. Mediocre times come. Life is going to life. Are you choosing to suffer based on your perspective? And that's the part that, from an organizational standpoint, all the way down to a personal standpoint, is part of my charge, is to help people, including myself, to see, hey, are you choosing to suffer in this moment? Or because you think nobody else is hot. But if you talk to enough people, you recognize it's hot for everybody. So how do are you going to get some ice cream? You going to get a slushy? You going to get up under the AC? Or you going to just sit in the heat and complain? And I hope y'all caught that.
Look, I've got a very special chat for you, a very special comment for you here in the chat. Let me put it on the screen.
For sure. Oh, yeah. That is it. Look, Charles, you didn't brought my mama, my auntie, I got my cousins, my friend. We got everybody, my godmama, you know what I'm saying? My homeboys, everybody on here. Homegirls, people, just everybody. So, that's dope. I'm glad, man. Yeah, that's what's happening. For sure. Yeah. See, look at me. I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna blush. I'm just gonna stay professional.
I hear you. Look at let's I'm gonna do this as the last question. I mean, because we've got so much to cover, but I'll make this as the last question, and then we'll get ready to close. You hold space for organizational dysfunction with the same compassion you bring to individual clients. How do you manage the emotional weight of walking into broken systems, sitting with resistant leadership, and holding a long view when the organization wants a quick fix?
Boy, I'm telling you cold with these questions, man. You cold, brother. I'm gonna say that again. Don't let nobody tell you different. You good with the question. Oh man, you good with the boy. I wasn't ready for that. So let me see. How do I do it? Wow, that's a great question. One of the things, man, if I can be honest with you, I've learned is to have my non-negotiables. What I mean by that is I have to take care of myself. If you're a person who holds space for anybody, it's exhausting. And for me, and I'm not saying this in a complaining way, I'm saying it as a matter of fact. Like I hold space for a lot of people, professionally, personally. And if I don't take care of myself, if I don't move my body, if I don't pray, if I don't meditate, if I don't drink my water, if I don't try to get some decent sleep, if I don't love on the people who love on me, if I don't, you know what I'm saying? If I don't do these things I know work for me, if I don't build myself and build my temple mentally, spiritually, physically, if I don't model the behaviors I'm trying to get these folks to buy into, then I can't keep showing up. And being aware of when I don't have anything to give, and being okay with that, fighting those narratives of I have to have all the answers, I gotta figure it out, I gotta push through. Like you need that, and you also need to know when the pushing is in vain. And I think that having the awareness of what's happening, looking at the reality of the situation, you know, as Carl Rogers says, the facts are friendly. The facts are the facts. If this is a place that had dysfunction, back to my Bally's example, had dysfunction before I got there, I might come in and provide something, but chances are they're probably going to still be some dysfunction when I'm gone. And I got in accepting that. That's where the concept of control comes in, the dichotomy of control. I got to accept the fact this ain't in my control. And once I accept that fact, I can show up and do the best work I can do and be proud of that and knowing, hey, you did all you could do, bro. You came through and you made some changes. You saw some aha moments. You had people connection, or you gave them some information that they going to try to apply and work through. Like, you got to just be like, okay, I did what I could do today. And something that my uncle said, you know, my Uncle Lordy, God bless his dead, is like, did you accomplish, like, what's your goal for today? Did you accomplish one thing? So I go into it one thing. I want these people to leave with a better understanding of how to connect with each other in a healthy way. And if I can say when I'm done, I did that, then everything else I might have wanted to do and all the ambitions that Lamar has and all the grand aspirations I have, I can make peace with the fact that, yeah, I may not have got all of that. And it might not be the charge right now. But today, I made it better. And my mission is to make the world better than how I found it. So if that's all, and if I did that, got 1% better, hey. So accepting that you only can do what you can do, and what's your problem to fix is your problem to fix. And you can't help everybody.
That part is true, 500%. So, do you have any words of wisdom and encouragement for our audience as we close? Tell them how they can connect with you via your social media. Tell them about your website, about the company, about your books, all of those good things.
For sure. I'll close with the word of wisdom. I'll give all that information. So the website is www.lewis, Lewis, family consulting, just like you see it on the screen. That's consulting, ing, not ant.net. On LinkedIn, that's the only social media I'm active on. It's just Lamar Lewis, Lamar with 2 R's. You'll see me like this. That's the picture I got on LinkedIn. You'll see all the credentials and everything my brother Charles mentioned. You'll see the logo. That's all on there. That's the best way to, if you want to be up to date, or, you know, reach out to me through the website. The books are on there. I also contributed to an anthology about cultural mistrust that my good brother Dr. Chad Sloss put together. That will be on the website soon. So if you're interested in the concept of cultural mistrust and what that looks like, that's on there. Besides that, man, just, you know, you can catch me. I'm around. I'm here to support. I'm here to help. If something that I said is impactful, please let me know. You can always reach out to me again through the website. A word of wisdom, though, and I know I've given a lot. I believe I've given a lot, but I will say, for me, probably the biggest word of wisdom is, again, just keep going. You know, whatever it is you're dealing with, whether it be organizationally or individually, if you keep going, take it a day at a time, a moment at a time, a step at a time. Take that big problem and break it down into its barest essential and what you can do today. What's your problem to deal with? What's something you can do today? And following my Uncle Lord's example, you know, what's your goal for today? What did you, one thing, it don't have to be everything. Did you get something done today? I think giving yourself the grace to rest, to pause, to embrace that you don't have to have all the answers. You ain't got to figure it all out. You ain't got to be the one. There are people who are here to support you, who love you, got your back. Lean on that, and it's okay. You know. So, for the sake of brevity, I'll stop. But those are the words of wisdom I have. If you take nothing else from what I said.
Well, I'm getting ready. I'm going to close with a monologue, but a couple of things I'm going to say to the audience before I close. Do you have a couple of minutes after I close the show?
Absolutely.
So for those of you that have joined us today, I appreciate you guys for being here. I appreciate the activity in the chat. There was lots and lots of good questions, and this is what we like to do here at America in Black and White, because this platform is not just about us getting out this message, it's getting you engaged in the message. And I want to thank each and every last one of you for doing that. For those of you that are watching, especially on our YouTube channels, if you have not yet subscribed and enabled all notifications, I'm asking if you would please support us by subscribing to the channel and enabling all notifications. Therefore, you'll be able to get each and every show live as we broadcast. You will also be able to go back and watch each and every episode that we have recorded with all of our great guests that are leaving great messages and information for you guys to do one thing, which is our common ground, and that is to build community. To build community, to be unified, and to be connected. So as we close, I'm going to close with this monologue, and I really do just appreciate you guys for being here again. I want to sit here for just a moment before the credits roll, because what was shared in this conversation tonight is not the kind of thing you receive and immediately move past. It is the kind of thing you take home with you. It is the kind of thing you think about on the drive, in the quiet, in between obligations, in that honest hour before sleep, when you cannot pretend anymore. Your well-being is not something you earn after you have finished being useful to everyone else. It is not a reward for productivity. It is not scheduled into the margins of your life between the meetings and the obligations and the performances of strength. It is a right. And for Black Americans, for Black people in this country, who have been told in 10,000 ways over 400 years that their pain is inconvenient and their healing is optional. Claiming your well-being is not merely a personal act, it is a political one. It is an act of resistance, and tonight, Lamar Lewis sat with us and reminded us that we were never meant to survive by diminishing ourselves, and that the world will not become what it ought to be by the labor of depleted people. We must be whole to do the whole work. 3 things from tonight's conversation that I do want us to let go of first. Well, first is a therapist's lens applied to organizational problems is not a soft alternative to rigorous consulting. It is a deeper form of organizational love. It is the willingness to ask not just what is the output, but what is happening to the people, and to hold both questions with equal seriousness. The organizations that will thrive in the next decade are the ones that stop treating human well-being as a line item and start treating it as the infrastructure everything else is built on. Second, the shift from at risk to at hope is not semantics. It is a declaration about what we believe is possible, and for whom every young person Lamar Lewis has ever sat with, coached, mentored, or advocated for was not a problem to be managed. They were a possibility to be accompanied. Language is a policy. And third, Servant leadership at its deepest is not a management style. It is an orientation of the soul. It is a decision to walk into every room asking not what can I extract here, but what can I leave here that will outlast my visit. That is what Lamar Lewis models. That is the standard he sets, not just for organizational leaders, but for all of us who have been given gifts and stand before people who need them. What does tonight mean for the America that this program exists to illuminate? It means that people in this country who have been most burdened by its failures, who have carried the weight of its contradictions in their bodies and their communities and their inheritances, are not waiting to be rescued. They are already building in consulting rooms and counseling sessions and Thursday evening virtual circles and Saturday morning coaching sessions in boardrooms and barbershops and church basements. There are men and women like Lamar Lewis who have decided that the gap between America we have and the America we deserve is a space they are going to work in every single day. That is the America in black and white, who I am committed to showing you. Not the America of statistics and despair, but America of people who refuse to let those statistics be the final story. So here's my call to you, wherever you're watching tonight. If you are a leader, examine what you're modeling for your team. Not your wellness policy, your behavior, your boundaries, your willingness to name when something is not working and to resource the healing it requires. If you represent an organization that says it values its people, prove it with investment, not rhetoric. Fund the wellness infrastructure, create the psychological safety, bring in someone like Lamar Lewis and actually listen to what he finds. And if you are watching tonight as an individual, as someone who has been quietly told or who has quietly told yourself that your healing can wait, that you can deal with it later, that other people need you to too much for you to need anything. I am talking to you directly. Choose yourself tonight, not tomorrow, tonight. Lamar's Holistic Leadership Workbook, Championing Wellness and Modeling Self-Care for Your Team, is a starting place for leaders. Lewis Family Consulting LLC is a resource for organizations ready to do the real work. And his declaration, the hashtag, your well-being is not a luxury, belongs to all of us now. I am Charles Zachary King. This is America in Black and White, and a nation that is flawed and striving, wounded and worthy, broken in places and beautiful in others, and worth every honest healing, uncomfortable, necessary conversation we can summon the courage to have. The distance between America we have and the America we deserve is not closed by silence or by comfort or by the performance of unity. It is closed by the conversations exactly like the one you witnessed tonight. Honest and human and healing and real. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Lamar Lewis, for reminding us all that to leave the world better than you found it is not an ambition, it is a calling. Good night and God bless. I'm sorry about that. I
Oh, no, you good, brother.
hit the wrong X.
It's cool. I was sitting there. I was sitting there waiting in the room. I was like, did he leave? And then when you I was like, let me just go to that backstage thing. So it all worked out. It's cool.
Yeah. So what did you think about the show?
Oh man, it was dope, bro. I definitely I said I really enjoyed your questions.